of our meeting, honourable members. I'd like to welcome all of you, including the department, our admin team, to this meeting. The agenda is as beamed before us. We hope we spend sufficient time in dealing with all the issues, but I do want to also indicate to members that we have a few members that might not be able to make it past 1:30, so we please try and confine ourselves to time, because we have quite a few back-to-back meetings that affect this very meeting. Thank you very much for making the time to be with us today. To the department, the members, I know we have minor glitches with virtual as it relates to virtual in terms of logging in and trying to get in. That is why it is advisable that perhaps we be given 15 minutes before to ensure that we try and deal with the nitty-gritties as it relates to the technicalities of being part of this meeting. May I please get an indication in terms of the attendance by Olani or Tami, if we have the full complement, and then the constitution of the meeting as it would relate.
Thanks, Chair. We don't have any apology from our members. What I can indicate to you, Chairperson, is that in your meeting today, I think you have an office of the AG, that's an Auditor General as well, who is attending. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The members that I recognize as it stands is Honourable Herricks, Honourable Joyce Cele, Honourable Singh, Honourable Mabuso, Honourable Kaula, Honourable Tulu, Honourable Pagati, and Honourable Swartboy. Did I miss any member? Members, you are welcome. Thank you very much to the department. I see your team is also here. Legal as well is present today. As I've been indicated to, communications is part of us as well as AG this morning. So we welcome you all to our committee meeting. The meeting meets its quorum, but maybe I can just allow legal as well to come in to also assist us with the constitution of our meeting.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Our meeting meets the quorum. You can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Budiste. We are now on point 4, honourable members. May I get an indication on the agenda? Please have a look at it, see if there's an item that you feel you would like to add, subtract, or adoption of the agenda itself.
Chair.
Chairperson.
Chair.
Okay, before honourable member, I wonder if Tami has information.
Yes, Chair. I'm a little bit worried about the department. If you can, if HOD can confirm whether all other people that are needed in the meeting are in the meeting. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. HOD.
Honourable Chairperson and honourable members, good morning. Yeah, the DSR team is together. And it's a complete team.
Okay, thank you. Honourable Swartboy.
Chairperson, I wanted to move for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you. There is a mover by Honourable Swartboy. Any seconders?
Yes, second, Chairperson, the adoption of the agenda.
Seconded by Honourable Cele. Thank you very much. We move to point 5. Is the MEC with us? HOD, HOM, can we get an indication?
Honourable Chairperson, maybe HOM can give us an indication.
Ngwane?
Good morning, Chair and honourable members. The MEC is trying to connect. I understand that colleague Gwanele is assisting her.
Okay. I What is the progress on her connection? All right. Is the MEC in now?
Ulink unayo kodwa.
Thami sicela usivalele ilokhunja yakho. Siyabonga. Please, may we give it a minute? Otherwise, I would propose that I'm just looking at my participants. Yes, Honourable Swartboy.
Chairperson, may I propose that we continue with the meeting? Maybe
Wonderful.
get into departmental reports. Maybe we'll get the MEC when she's responding to to the questions.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the departmental reports, honourable members. 6.1, the presentation of the fourth quarter report, HOD, and your team, please may you. And to our technical team, please beam the presentation itself. I'm certain they had sent it. So if you could beam the report, and HOD, may you take us through. I'm not sure which member of your team will be doing this report or presentation.
Honourable Chairperson, honourable members, thank you so much. We will be presenting on the non-financial information, the end of quarter 4 report, but we also will be presenting the preliminary performance information for year end, because that's how we will also be presenting our budget, so that there is alignment. We will be presenting together with the team. I will just give the high level summary of how the department has performed during quarter 4, as well as the annual performance. Now, overall, what has happened in terms of the departmental performance is that 84% of our indicators achieved at 100%.
I'm sorry. We like the high level and the summation. I wonder if it will not create a duplication when the actual presentation is being done, because we are pressed for time and we want to deal with the detail of your report. If you could indicate to me which report are you looking at and which slide you are indicating or speaking about, because what I don't want is for us to have a preamble for each report, which takes away time from the discussion and the content of the report. So if you are not to be doing the content of the report, it will suffice for us for you to introduce to that person, and then you can come back maybe after to where you feel there were gaps that you wanted to fill for us. So if we could do it in that regard.
Okay, noted, Chairperson. I think with that then, if the understanding is we're giving a detailed report, then I will hand over to Mr. Paul to actually run through the report.
Okay, so which report is it? Is it the one that is being beamed now?
Yes, that's the one.
Thank you.
Good morning, honourable members. Good morning, honourable Chairperson. It's Duncan Poole speaking.
Sorry, Chairperson, I think what we are beaming here is the budget report, actually. So maybe we should just start with that then, because it's already on the screen.
What is on the screen, HOD, is fourth quarter report 1920.
Yes, it's the budget report.
Yeah.
It's finance. Remember, there's two aspects to this item.
Yes.
There's the non-financial report, which is the performance report, and there's the finance report. So what we are proposing is that we start with the finance report because it's already projected on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll ask CFO then to take us through the report.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
CFO.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to the honourable members, HOD, my colleagues. The report on the fourth quarter.
Sorry, CFO. A moment.
Yes.
Please, members and team, may we be muted so that we don't get feedback from yourselves. The only mic that should be on would be that of CFO, because I don't want us to have feedback from your own background. Please, if we may. Thank you. You may continue. Proceed,
Okay.
CFO.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll go straight to the page 3 of the report on revenue. The revenue collection for the department at year end, we had exceeded our estimate of 452,000 and we actually collected 470,000, and the percentage collection was sitting at 104%. Giving detail to the collection, we exceeded our collection for the sponsorships we received for the sport awards, which amounted to 275,000. And that was mitigated by the under collection for the sale of goods and services, that is in relation to the tender documents that we sell. With the changes in the manner in which we advertise, suppliers are now allowed to access the documents and print for themselves, hence the reduction in collection.
Sorry, CFO.
Yes.
VJ, your mic is on, please. I'm getting feedback from you. Thank you. Continue, CFO.
I'm using VJ's laptop, Chairperson. Can I continue? Okay. I'll continue, Chairperson. I'm not sure. Can you hear me, Chairperson? No, it's not. It's not muted. I can see. No, I'm fine. You can see it's not crossed.
Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chair.
You may proceed. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. The only area where we did not achieve the target for the collection is in relation to the sales of redundant vehicles that was delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic, and the auctioning of the redundant vehicles will have to be rescheduled. Now, looking at the actual fourth quarter expenditure and budget analysis in page 4, in page 4 of the presentation, the department had a budget of 478,958,000, which is inclusive of the conditional grant, amounting to 104,673,000, and we further received a rollover of 3.566 million, and we ended up with a budget of 482,524,000 for the financial year 2019. There were adjustments that took place over the year, and also environments post year closure, and they were they're being presented to Treasury for consideration, and they're all in line with the PFMA requirements. And in-year adjustments were also submitted to Treasury accordingly. The fourth quarter budget analysis per program, we're looking at adjusted budget for administration of 103,812,000 and the actual expenditure sitting at 94,734,000, and we had to effect environments amounting to 7.1 million, and the under expenditure was sitting at 1,928,000, which is 98% of the total budget for administration. Sports and recreation, that's program 2. We had an adjusted budget of 378,712,000, and the actual expenditure was 386,407,000, and we had to effect environments of 7.150 million. In program 2, budget versus expenditure was sitting at 100.1%. The total percentage spending for the department at year end was sitting at 99.7%, and the under expenditure of 1.383 million is submitted for rollover. Going to page 5, we are focusing on program 1, administration. As I indicated, there was under expenditure within this program. At the end of the year, we're sitting at 98% spent, as we've spent 94,734,000 versus the adjusted budget of 103,812,000 before environments and post environments adjustments, resulted in 96,662,000 spending. Analysis of program 1 expenditure. The under expenditure in program 1 was largely against the machinery and equipment. We had delays in the delivery of the computer equipment that was ordered from overseas, and the non-delivery was also as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak. And we also had vehicles that we had ordered that were not delivered. We ordered through the Department of Transport at year end. Those vehicles were still not delivered to the department, hence the under expenditure and the requested rollover of 1.383 million. In page 6, that is the analysis of budget versus expenditure for program 2. Program 2 overspent by 545,000. We're sitting at 100.1% spent in program 2. We spent 386,407,000 in relation to the budget of 378,712,000. In program 2, areas of over expenditure, it's in relation to the higher than budgeted costs for the departmental events, such as high performance programs. We had Herrick Wala Marathon. We had a launch of 16 days of activism that we had to run, and also Drakensberg extravaganza. Those were some of the activities that took place during the year in program 2. In program 2, we also experienced delays in the filling of critical posts, which in a way mitigated this over expenditure. We had posts of deputy directors, district coordination that was not filled in the financial year 2019-20. And we also had transfers to Real Kings Football Club that were not effected, and they failed to comply with the PFMA requirements for a transfer payment. Hence, the 585,000 was not spent under transfers and subsidies. However, the department was able to carry out the program and assist the club through goods and services. Also, non-profit institutions, the KZN Academy of Sport was also unable to comply with the requirements for transfer payments. There were still forms that had not been submitted, hence the under expenditure of 1.5 million that had been earmarked for the transfer to the KZN Academy. Page 7 gives us a table on the analysis of expenditure at year-end per economic classification. We start with the current payments. The adjusted budget was sitting at 386,382,000, and the actual expenditure was 386,005,000, and we had to effect virements within the current payments, but the overall spending was sitting at 100.7% of the budget, this adjusted budget versus the actual expenditure. Compensation of employees with adjusted budget of 145,368,000. The actual expenditure was 129,781,000. Was sitting at 94% spent. Goods and services expenditure was sitting at 104.2%. That is 256,224,000 versus the budget adjusted of 241,014,000. Transfers and subsidies overall, we had an adjusted budget of 81,947,000 and an expenditure was sitting at 82,770,000, and we're sitting at 97.5%. And overall, our provinces and municipalities transfers 41,188,000, and we actually spent 41,159,000. That budget was rounded off to 100%. Departmental agencies and accounts, we had a budget of 305,000 and we spent 300,000. We had only 5 remaining. And public corporations, budget of 2.3 million, and we exceeded the budget. We spent 3.7 million as a result of those expenditures relating to the Drakensberg extravaganza as indicated previously. Non-profit institutions budget of 36,264,000, and we actually spent 35,189,000. We had an under expenditure of 1.5 million as indicated, that is in relation to the non-transfer payment to the Academy of Sport. Households with a budget of 1.8 million, we actually spent 2.367, and we had to effect some virements that was in relation to the staff exit costs that could not have been anticipated earlier. Payment for capital assets, we had a total payment for capital assets, we had an adjusted budget of 14,195,000, and actual expenditure was sitting at 12,294,000. The building and other fixed structures, we had a budget of 9.9 million, and we spent 10 million. We slightly exceeded that allocation by 147,000, and that was in relation to the costs, the construction costs that were sort of higher than expected. Machinery and equipment, we had a budget of 3.7 million, and the actual expenditure is 1.286 million as previously indicated. That is in relation to the purchasing of the vehicles that were not delivered at year end and therefore not paid for, as well as the computer equipment that we had purchased from abroad that we did not receive at year end, hence the under expenditure within this category. Software and other intangibles, we exceeded here, we spent 881,000 for the software and other intangibles in relation to a budget of 443,000. And payment for financial assets, that's 72,000, that was a write-off of the previous debt. Total adjusted budget was sitting at 482,524,000, and the actual expenditure was 481,141,000. We spent 99.7% of the total budget allocated to the department. Page 8, is the breakdown of each economic classification that I was taking you through. Just to highlight, in current payments, the filling of posts, we were underspent by 7.6 million under compensation of employees, and overall, it was sitting at 94.4%. That was in relation to the posts that were only assumed in April, that is the Deputy Director Budget and Planning, as well as Deputy Director Human Resources. And goods and services, we also reflected an over expenditure of 10,243,000. That was in relation to the programs that the department embarked on, such as the 16 days of activism, as I indicated, the Drakensberg extravaganza, the marathons that we hosted as a department during the year. Taking you through page 9, that is details on the transfers and subsidies. Total transfers and subsidies, we had a budget of 81,947,000, and we actually spent 82,770,000. And looking at these categories, we fully spent our allocation for the transfers and municipalities post adjustments that are reflected of 29,000 in this category. That was in relation to the transfers to the province for the motor vehicle licensing. Transfers to non-profit institutions, as I indicated, 1.5 million was not transferred for the Academy of Sport due to non-compliance, and transfers to private enterprises, Real Kings Football Club was unable to fulfill the PFMA requirements for compliance, and therefore transfers were not effected. However, they were assisted through goods and services, where there is then the over expenditure that is reflecting. Transfers to households is in relation to the staff exit costs of 518,000 that was via at year end. Page 10, budget versus expenditure for capital. Total capital budget, adjusted budget, was sitting at 14,195,000, and we spent 12,294,000. Buildings and other fixed structures, that's the first line under the capital assets. We had a budget of 9.98 million, and we actually spent 10 million. We slightly exceeded our budget by 147,000 due to inflationary increases in the cost of construction. Machinery and equipment, as I indicated, we had a budget of 3.772 million, and we spent 1.286 million. That is in relation to the non-delivery of the equipment that we required, the vehicles as well as the computer equipment. And the software and intangibles, we exceeded the budget that was allocated. And softwares, we full spent. Conditional grant is in page 11 of the presentation. Under conditional grant, we had mass participation and sport development grant. The grant was fully spent at year end. We had 104,773,000, and we fully spent that allocation. And the EPWP funding, we also fully spent the allocation of 2,447,000. The total grant allocation is 107,120,000 that was fully spent at year end. Looking at this infrastructure at page 12. New infrastructure assets capital with an allocation of 10,127,000. We spent 10,127,000 against the adjusted appropriation of 9.98 million, we slightly exceeded by 147,000. As I indicated, this is in relation to the inflationary construction costs. The transfers were fully spent, the 41,142,000. The transfers were made up of the capital transfers of 40,692,000 to the municipalities for the construction of sport infrastructure, as well as the transfers of 450,000 for the payment of the caretakers of our sport facilities. The total was sitting at 51,269,000 spending on the infrastructure, which is made up of the total of capital infrastructure of 19,000 actual expenditure, as well as the 450,000, which is in relation to the transfers for the caretakers of our sport facilities. Page 13. In page 13, we are reporting on environments and shifts that had to be effected by the department post adjustments. We are starting with environments across programs. We had program 1 and 2, program 1 administration. We have an under expenditure of 7,150,000 that was moved to program 2 from program 1. This was in relation to the expenditure on the departmental programs that we had to undertake, and the expenditure was higher than the budgeted for, and hence we had to move some funding from program 1 to program 2. Hence you'll see that it's reflecting between program 1 and 2, the movement of the funding between these two programs. On page 14, we're looking at then the movements between the economic classifications. We're starting with the compensation of employees. As I indicated, there was under expenditure, and this under expenditure was reflecting in both programs, program 1 and program 2. The total under expenditure relating to compensation of employees is 7.948 million, which is made up of the 4.4 million in program 1 and 3.5 million in program 2. And this under expenditure was, the funding was therefore moved to offset the over expenditure under goods and services. Of this 7.9 million, 4.9 million was moved to goods and services to cater for the higher than budgeted for costs for the events that I've indicated: the marathon at Terikwala, the 16 days of activism, the St. Lucia Beach Games, the Drakensberg extravaganza. Those are the activities that were undertaken by the department, and the funds were used accordingly. Transfers to provinces and municipalities. There was an under expenditure of 29,000 that is in relation to the licensing of vehicles. Transfers to departmental agencies and accounts. There's a difference of 5,000 there. In terms of under expenditure, transfers to public corporations and accounts, an amount of 2 million that was the saving, was then used to offset the expenditure in relation to the Drakensberg extravaganza that took place in November 2019, as well as other activities that were effected by the department. In page 15, we have an amount of 425,000 that was moved into the transfers in order to offset the over expenditure for the activities, namely the Roseland Trust, the Natal Canoe Club hosting of the Duzi Canoe, and so on. Transfers to households, its staff exit costs that were higher than expected, and we therefore had to find some funding to offset that over expenditure. The transfers into households amounted to 518,000. And the building and other fixed structures, funding of 147,000 was moved into buildings and other fixed structures to offset the over expenditure relating from the inflationary increase in the cost of construction. Machinery and equipment, as I indicated, there were vehicles that had not been delivered at year end, hence the budget then had to be moved out of machinery and equipment to offset other costs. Software and other intangibles, a budget was moved into the software and other intangibles to offset the over expenditure. So that amounted to 438,000, and the payment for the financial assets is the 72,000 in relation to the write-off of debts. And page 16, the requested rollovers to the 2020-21 budget. Only request is for 1,383,000 of the equitable share against machinery and equipment. This is as a result of the under expenditure attributed to the computer hardware that had not been received by the department at year end, as well as the purchasing of the motor vehicles that we had not received from the Department of Transport at year end. Both these were committed by the department at year end. It's just that the delivery did not take place at year end. Chairperson, that concludes the report, the financial report for the fourth quarter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CFO. HOD, may we get the second leg to it, which was the non-financial? If you could indicate to us the name of the report in terms of the documents that were sent to us, please.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Honourable members, please, can we receive both the financial and non-financial, and then we'll be able to discuss thereafter. HOD.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson. Duncan Poole is going to do the report on behalf of the department.
Okay.
And it is currently projected on the screen.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable MEC, and Honourable members, colleagues. I'm sorry, unfortunately, I can't see the document on the screen. But in your pack, there are 3 documents regarding the report on performance information. The one is a narrative summary report, a high-level summary report. There's a document that is in the form of a schedule where it documents each variance and challenge for each and every indicator. Then the third document is the document that I have in front of me, which I'm going to speak to, which is in the form of a PowerPoint presentation, but it is referred to as the preliminary performance scorecard. Are we happy if I can speak to that document, please, Honourable Chair?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. I think I just need to explain, first of all, in terms of scoring. So the first slide I'm looking at is slide 3, which is a graph which indicates the percentage achieved per indicator target and slide 3 talks to quarter 4. So our report will both indicate quarter 4 performance on its own, and then we will look at the preliminary year-end figures. So in quarter 4, Program 1 achieved 81% of their targets at 100%. So what that means is that the other 19% does not mean it did not achieve at all. It just refers that they did not achieve at 100%. For Program 2, the program achieved 94% of their indicated targets at a full 100%, giving us a departmental total, if we look at both programs, 88% achievement at 100%. If I move to slide 4, this indicates the preliminary year-end performance. I say it's preliminary because the figures are yet to be validated. These should be validated by the 9th of June, when the final reports have to be submitted to the province and to the Department of Performance Monitoring and Evaluation. So on the same scales, where we're indicating how many indicators achieved at their full target, Program 1, again, achieved at 81%. Program 2, for the preliminary for the year, achieved at 85% of their targets were fully achieved, giving us a departmental figure of 84%. That's with combining the two programs together. If I go to slide 5, what I've indicated there are two pie graphs there. The top left one is referring to the quarter 4 percentages, and the bottom right refers to the preliminary year-end figures. What this graph is showing you, the big green section on the top left graph, the 88%, that is tying up with the achievements for the department at 100%. One can also indicate there that only 3% of the indicators were below 25%, and 6% of the indicators were between 50% and 75% achievement. If one looks at the preliminary year end, the bottom right graph, there's a preliminary year end total of 86%. I just need to point out that 86%, just when the graphs are developed, there are figures that are rounded off. That's why the previous graph showed you an 84%. This is purely an arithmetic thing where we are rounding off percentages. But only 2%, which is in fact one indicator, achieved less than 25%. Overall, 96% of the indicators achieved at over 75%. Just very briefly, slide 6, I'm moving on to, this is the statistical performance for Program 1, and I will deal with each of the programs and the sub-programs in a little more detail in the next few slides. But this slide 6 shows you that in quarter 4, 13 of the indicators that we have out of the 16 achieved at the 100%. That's how you get the 81% achievement. For the year end, obviously being in Program 1, it's the same indicators because they are cumulative indicators. It's the same 13 that achieved at 100%, and obviously the same 3 that did not achieve. If I move to slide 4, to slide 7. Slide 7 is showing us the performance for quarter 1. So for Program 1, I beg your pardon, Program 1, the light gold columns indicate the quarter 4 performance, and the dark gold or bronze columns indicate the preliminary year to date. You'll notice in Program 1, virtually all the programs, bar human resource management and the administration component. All the others achieved their indicator targets at 100%. And I'll deal in a little bit more detail with admin and with HRM and finance. I'll move to slide 8. This just shows you the achievement of each individual indicator in Program 1. I would just like to make a couple of comments here. In terms of finance, which is the third, fourth, and fifth graph, that is the bright green, the annual budget committed was at just over 101%, whereas the actual expenditure, as the CFO has reported, was at 99.7%. The difference there is purely that this graph is indicating budget that was committed. So therefore, there are orders that are still outstanding where there's a follow-on on the delivery into the new financial year. Of note is that the invoices paid within 30 days. We're reporting that all invoices were met within and paid within the 30-day period. For the indicator percentage orders awarded to HDR suppliers, we exceeded the target of 75%, achieving just 89% of all our orders were issued to HDR contractors. And it's historically disadvantaged contractors. The next three columns referred to in the dark blue are the indicators for human resource management. These three indicators are all declared by the national department, and they relate to the vacancy rate, the percentage of females in senior management service, and the number of officials, people with disabilities. This is where we found our shortfalls, and that only one of the three indicators met their exact target. The vacancy rates currently on the report that was issued at the end of February, and unfortunately the Office of the Premier has not yet issued the March report, which is the year-end report. So this figure of 56% achieved is in actual fact for a 9% vacancy rate. However, that has excluded the appointments that were made in March, which in actual fact we are hoping by the time we present the final figures will be pretty much on our target, which is a limited to 5% vacancy rate. And that 5% is related to attrition posts that have not been filled and some approved posts that have not yet been filled either. The percentage achieved for females in SMS, there's been a big improvement there over this financial year. At the beginning of the financial year, we only had about 27% of the SMS contingent was made up of females, and this has escalated to 44%, which is 9 out of 16 officials in that are females. The percentage of people with disability, we in fact, our target, the national target is 2% of the workforce to represent people with disabilities. We are sitting at 3.1%, which for the province is actually the highest proportion in the province. The other indicator I'd like to speak to is the next one, the sort of brownish column, which is achieved at 20%. That indicator is an indicator we measure on the number of transport vehicle incidents, which will include accidents, vehicle abuse, etc., we'd look to have a 5% improvement in the number of incidents, in other words, a reduction. Unfortunately, the preliminary figures just show a 1% reduction in those incidents, which means it only achieved 20% of their target. The last amount I'd like to talk to is the very high 400%. That is for security and a number of events that were monitored for the compliance with the Safety at Sports Events Act. This figure is unfortunately accumulation of the third and fourth quarter, and the third quarter, due to the new manager we having been. Can you hear me? Yes, Honourable Chair.
Hello?
Yes, Honourable Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can I carry on?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. This is just the last comment on Program 1. I'm just referring to the achievement or the very high overachievement of the security section. And I'm just reporting that that is a cumulative figure from quarter 3 and quarter 4, and hence it looks highly exceeded, but it's purely from a reporting point of view. I'd like to now just move on to Program 2. Program 2 is obviously our service delivery component. You'll notice that 2 programs, the Chief Directorate and Strategic Projects, they did not have any fourth quarter targets planned, and so therefore, although there was activity performed in those programs, they had no targets actually planned for the fourth quarter. They had all been planned up until including the third quarter. As we can see, the fourth quarter achieved 16 out of 17 of indicated targets for that achievement of 94% for the quarter. If I move on to slide 10, which is the last slide I'll talk to, but I'll just deal with each sub-program in turn. Sport, the Chief Directorate Sports Promotion, that is the first sub-program I'm talking to. As you can see, they had no targets for the fourth quarter, but as for the year, they managed to achieve and surpass all their planned targets for the year. In community sports, and again, I'd just like to point out the light green column on the graph refers to the fourth quarter, and the dark green column refers to the preliminary year-end data. So in community sport, you notice they achieved all their targets for the fourth quarter, and in the year overall, they achieved all but one target. That was for the transfer to federations and sports bodies. They achieved 21 of the 22 transfer payments that were planned to be made. The one exception being the case within athletics, which due to them being under administration, did not receive their transfer payment. So that is why they did not achieve their target there. But there were some other notable achievements, particularly in number of people trained, where we exceeded the targets quite considerably, training 1,355 people, which was a 28% exceeding of the target. The main contributor here is, although all sport federations do conduct training, the Cycling Federation has been exceptionally busy in that area, and they achieved the far larger portion of that training. If I move on to the infrastructure, so for the fourth quarter, and most of the targets for infrastructure relate to completion of infrastructure. So their targets are usually expressed in the third and the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, they had met all the fourth quarter targets. And for the year, the preliminary figure for the year is sitting at 75%. The one target that has not been achieved is the construction of play gyms, where 30 of the 33 planned play gyms had been completed. Unfortunately, due to companies having to close early, the last 3 were not actually installed, although all the equipment was made available by the suppliers. It's just the installation that is outstanding on those last 3. But they have just some other details on infrastructure. The work on sports fields at Bilanyoni, Kwamsani, and Makisheville had all been completed during the year. And work on the hub fitness centers in Alfred Duma, Amzamkulu, and Mflatuzi is all in progress. And we have transferred funds to those municipalities for the implementation and construction of the fitness centers. I just referred to club development. Club development have met or exceeded their fourth quarter targets, and overall for the year are sitting at 88% of their annual targets achieved. The only one indicator that is not achieved there is the number of athletes in the academies. So club development caters for the community clubs as well as the academies. And so the only shortfall is the number of athletes at academies. But having said that, that percentage achievement is at 97% of those planned. We provided equipment to 1,193 clubs over the year in the 150 leagues. So these are age group leagues in football, volleyball, and netball. And the number of leagues and the number of clubs supported exceeded the targets. It is quite difficult to actually plan how many leagues will register because this is a program that is growing all the time, and the number of leagues and clubs keep escalating year on year. But we did manage to meet the extra demand from the funds that were available. In strategic projects, this component dealt with the local community clubs, and we supported 452 local community clubs with primarily equipment. These are our local clubs could be church groups, social groups, whatever, that approach the department for assistance in the providing of equipment to enable them to play. These are not organized or structured clubs, but are community clubs. And we exceeded that target of 450 for the year. The water safety champions, we also exceeded the training for water safety champions, training 120 from the target of 110. So we exceeded that by just over 10%. The one disappointment was the cancellation of the World Football Summit, which was due to take place in March in Durban, and should have brought a large contingent of foreign visitors to the province. Unfortunately, due to the implementation of the lockdown, although the event was planned for just before the lockdown, just through pragmatism, the event was cancelled. If I look at organised recreation, although they look at an achievement of 50% achieved for the fourth quarter, this is primarily that a lot of their targets had actually been exceeded by the end of the third quarter. And so although they did still deliver some services, they were not at the level of what was planned because that had already been achieved beforehand. And they have achieved all their targets, preliminarily achieved all their targets for the year. Community recreation, which is the last one, the second last one I'll comment on. Community recreation achieved or surpassed all their fourth quarter targets. Some achievements there that they've achieved. They managed to exceed their targets for a number of community events taking place. This is hub events and hub tournaments. This was due to the fact that they had generated savings during the course of the year from some of the other programs and targets, that they were able to implement further and additional tournaments in the interests of keeping people busy and active and to keep the program relevant. So they surpassed their targets in terms of events. The shortfall in the achievement is within the overall participation level. We recorded 142,000 for the year, people participating in the program, which is a 5% shortfall on the target of 150,000. Unfortunately, this is not necessarily a reflection of the number of people that took part, but it's the non-achievement in that we could not validate all those people in terms of the very stringent audit criteria that we have. And this usually revolves around not having the registered identity numbers of all those participants. And during the audit process, if they're not identified by the ID number, we cannot validate those people. So unfortunately, our reported target is 5% below the target, but we believe that we actually surpassed our target of 150 quite considerably. The last program I'd report on is school sport. School sport for the quarter achieved all their targets. The main activities for the fourth quarter was the training that was provided to the school sport structures. So a big training workshop was held, and the school sport structures, in fact 75 of them, attended that training that was provided for them. The shortfall for the year, unfortunately, revolves around the participation figures in the various tournaments, the district tournaments for learners, the provincial tournament, and the national tournament. And the major issue being around the number of learners at district tournaments. We fell short of our target for the year. The main mitigating factor for that was that the target had been increased some 40% on the previous year from the national department. So they'd instructed us to increase our target from 25,000 learners at district tournaments to 35,000, which is a 40% increase. Unfortunately, we couldn't make that number, but we have still exceeded the previous year's target by about 8%. Big challenges there is the funding that it takes to put on all these tournaments, and we are budget constrained in that program with funding all those individuals to the various tournaments, both at district, provincial, and national. The only last matter to report is the unfortunate cancellation of the athletics national school champs. The provincial school champs for primary and senior schools were held. The national schools championships were cancelled due to the lockdown that came during the middle of March. So overall, we can see that for the quarter we achieved 94%, and for the preliminary year-end figure, 85% of targets have been achieved. As I mentioned earlier, we are still yet to validate all the figures, and we are hoping that we might, in fact, be able to improve that 85% up to hopefully around the 90% at least. Honourable Chair, I'd like to close my presentation there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, MEC, to the committee meeting. I'm sorry I had not seen you earlier. HOD, would you like to come in at this point with any additions from the two financial and non-financial report before I allow members to come in?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and greetings to the MEC because we're not together, and the honourable members. I think the one thing that stands out for us is the performance financially at 99.7% and the 84% on performance information as reported by Mr. Poole. I think we need to clarify that to say we are reporting 84% achieved at 100%, indicators achieved at 100%. So it doesn't mean that if budget spent is much higher than the indicators that have achieved, because we are only tracking at 100%. The others may not have reached 100%, but they still were implemented and they spent against a budget. So I think that is the explanation that we need to quickly share with the honourable members. Other than that, Honourable Chairperson, we are also proud that all of our posts as targeted last year have been filled. We've actually exceeded our target. We'd set it at 5%. We are now sitting at 4.5, which means we've far exceeded the target. When MEC joined the department, we were at 13% vacancy rate, but we are proud to announce that we are now sitting at 4.5%. So that's it, Honourable Chairperson, for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, may I get an indication from yourself if the reports that are outstanding, I know we have two more reports from yourselves, can take us to 12 o'clock, and then from 12 we can have discussions, because I do want to give members time to discuss. So what I'm saying, looking at it, we are on 11:40. Is it possible for you to do the two presentation that will take us to 12 o'clock HOD?
Correct, Chairperson.
Please, may you proceed.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson. I take it that we are now doing a presentation on COVID-19, Honourable Chairperson.
Honourable members, please bear with me. I'm just working out such that we are able to get information and then create an opportunity for you to discuss everything at once. But if you have any questions, please just note them. And once the department has done, they'll be able to respond. You'll indicate which report you are dealing with at that time, and then they'll respond accordingly. Please continue, HOD.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson. The report we are presenting now is on COVID-19, and we will be responding to the questions that we received from the Portfolio Committee as part of our presentation. But we will also be just giving you a general take of how COVID-19 has affected the department. So let us, first of all, address the questions that were posed by the Portfolio Committee, because taking you through that presentation is going to waste time, because we've already presented the relief fund. We just need now to respond to the questions that you'd given to us. The one question that you received from the Portfolio Committee had to do with whether we could review the closing dates. And as you can see on the presentation, those dates have been reviewed, and we now have a closing date that we believe will give our people enough time to actually, lodge their applications. And then in terms of the criteria used to benefit everyone, to ensure that we include our rural areas, we actually have come up with a process, and it's on the presentation. I'm going to talk to that one, where we are saying the process is improved now. to ensure that there's access, particularly by people that come from the rural areas. What we've done, Honourable Chairperson, is that other than the federations, because we said federations are in all our districts, we've beefed that up to include all of our offices. All 11 district offices will now allow for manual entries. So we've put a drop-down box in each of our offices, and our staff is available to actually support and assist where necessary to receive the applications and to process the applications. The next question was on Adjudication Panel, that we should ensure fair representation in terms of gender, youth, and disability. And if you look at the presentation, and as far as that is concerned, you will see that we received from the Portfolio Committee Chairperson some information in terms of what we could consider as possible panelists for the youth as well as for disability. And those two have since been incorporated. However, the challenge that we have that MEC raised was these two that have been proposed also come from the urban areas at eThekwini. So the rural question may still be a difficult one. And moreover, the original names that had been presented had actually been approved through the PCC. So for us to consider the two candidates may be a bit of a difficulty, because again, they are based in the urban areas. But in any case, they have been included in the presentation. And then in terms of recreational entities, where the fishermen and surfers are affected, our response has been to say that we are treating them as a special category, as we do aerobics instructors and so on, and they will, if they can prove loss of income, will also be considered now for the relief fund. And then the next one was on the list to be circulated, the final list to the committee. Indeed, we will definitely, as soon as we've done all the authentication and the adjudication process, we will then submit once approved by the executive authority. The reviewed version of the relief program to be circulated to the committee, we've already done that. All honourable members should now have the document that I'm talking to. And then the committee chairperson to be invited to the launch. The launch is not necessarily the launch as we may know it, like your physical launch. We are looking at a statement being released by the executive officer. So there hasn't necessarily been a launch. And then the next one we've taken as advised. We will release, the media release will be followed by live reads, adverts on major radio stations, including Ukhozi, Igagasi, East Coast, Lotus, and so on. And then we have adverts in major newspapers as KwaZulu-Natal. We also have the manual applications as we indicated. The cooperatives and SMMEs, we believe, honourable members, that what economic development is providing as a relief package for my SMMEs is not discriminatory, which means it is for all of our sectors. So in a way, we believe that they are also covered there. And then the next one was whether our beneficiaries from KZN have been approved by National, the allocation of 150. Indeed, we've received a list from National. They've given us a database of beneficiaries. The only thing that they have not done is indicate which ones are KZN beneficiaries. So we've asked them to do that so that when we embark on our process, we can actually ensure that there's no double dipping. So that information is still awaited from the National Department. And then the next one is a presentation of proposals and how sport is going to be done virtually. We are proud to announce that we are really working hard on ensuring that we use the digital space to deliver our programs. We already have the eSport program. being coordinated together with economic development because they are rolling out e-broadband. So as far as possible, we will be using the digital space. For example, we had aerobics online, just recently, and we will be moving on to other codes as well, including EHS as was proposed by the portfolio committee. But on this note, Honourable Chairperson, I think it would be fair for us to actually present our risk-adjusted strategy that talks to all the levels so that the honourable members can actually engage with what is being proposed going forward in terms of the recovery plan, rather than view this in isolation. And then the last one was the incorporation of rural horse riding events in the document and how this will be catered for. And our response is that at present, Idandi July has not been cancelled. We're looking at postponing it rather, but we are yet to consult with the stakeholders because we cannot take a unilateral decision. This area is actually under the jurisdiction of an association, so we are in consultation with them. However, the horse owners, jockeys, stable hands will be included in the relief package. So that is, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, our response to the questions that we received. But just very briefly, generally, how has COVID-19 affected the department? We did indicate that we participated in the national relief, the amount of about 150 million. We also made a contribution there. Provincially, I've just spoken to the provincial relief now at 7 million. However, we also need to report that each department here, to knowing Uguti, we are really the least funded department. We are not even $500 million, but we've had Treasury ask us to surrender an allocation or an amount of about 120.2 million because they want to fight COVID-19, and they've created this central fund that Department of Health and other departments like education will benefit from. So it is such a huge blow for us because 120 million out of a budget which is very minimal is really hitting us hard. Now, I think on that note then, Honourable Chairperson, we do want to say, as we provide for the national relief and the provincial relief funds, we are also interfering largely with the APP because we are taking from the targets that we would have implemented in the tabled annual performance plan. So with that, we are anticipating that we will have to retable our APP, and this we can only do after the budget adjustment, which we are told will happen in June. Otherwise, going forward, we will really recommend that we present the proposed risk-adjusted strategy plan for the 5 levels to the portfolio committee so that at least we understand and we are on the same wavelength in terms of what is being proposed in the midst of COVID for sport and recreation. And the last presentation, Honourable Chairperson, is the request by the portfolio committee for a list of our entities and the geographical spread of the entities that we support. And that document is being tabled for the consideration by the members of the portfolio committee. We've indicated not just the entities, but we've also indicated where the programs are in terms of the entities that are on the spreadsheet, as well as the allocations that are dedicated for those programs per district. And Honourable Chairperson, I think that's about it, and we've I think saved you a lot of time. It's 10:02. Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, HOD. I wonder if MEC can utilize that amount of time for any input she would like to have. But I know she's missed the better part of the discussion, but I'll just allow her before the members engage the reports.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, for the opportunity that you are giving me, and my apologies for joining the meeting late. It was due to poor connection at Mayville. My humble apology, Honourable Chair. I think, Honourable Chair, it is also important that I report to the meeting, introduce to the meeting our new PNO, Mr. Siyabonga Cedric Mdleche, who replaced Usthembile Mfeka. Is unfortunate. Yes, Chair.
Sorry, please continue.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. It's unfortunate that I have replaced a female with a male, but nevertheless, Usthembile Mfeka is now the director in the department, of which means a growth. So I am happy with that, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson, I want to confirm that the presentations that have been made by the department indeed is the true reflection of what I have endorsed as the political head of the department. Indeed, the issues raised by the members of the Portfolio Committee Chairperson have been incorporated in the Provincial Relief Fund, of which the applications are open as from the 13th to the 29th of September. We are anticipating, Honourable Chairperson, to start paying for the athletes and all the federations from the 15th for those that have qualified in our criteria that we have set as presented. Honourable Chairperson, it's very important also to add the 120 million plus, because it's not exactly 120, it's more than 120 million that we have surrendered to the Treasurer. Really has got an impact in the department, which affects our APPs and also the service delivered in general. There is nothing that we can do. Hopefully, with the presentation of the entities that have been presented to the members, they will assist the members in terms of their oversight work so that we can also deliver as per the mandate that has been given to all of us. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and all the members of the Portfolio Committee for the opportunity that you have given me. Ngiyabonga, Sis Amanda.
Thank you, MEC. Honourable members, may I please note you for discussion? Again, my request would be, please, when you do, please ensure that when you do engage, you indicate the report you are speaking to, so that we are able to be in line with you. But for now, I'll take mentions of the names that want to discuss the 3 and the contribution reports.
Honourable Chairperson.
Honourable Singh, noted. Any other member?
Honourable Chairperson.
Honourable Swartboy, noted.
Sawubona wesihlalo hloniphekile, sawubona wengqongqoshi.
Honourable Kaula, noted. Sawubona.
Siyacela ukungena.
Uzongena baba, uzongena. Noted, Honourable Member.
Akube njalo ngane yami.
Okay. Any other member? Any other member?
Honourable Mavuso, Chairperson.
Honourable Mavuso. Thank you.
Chairperson.
Honourable Joyce Cele. Noted. Any other member? With that, I don't hear any other member. Members, we I have Honourable Singh, Honourable Swartboy, Honourable Kaula, Mavuso, and Honourable Tsene. Those are the members that have requested to speak on the agenda. And may you begin, Honourable Singh. May other members please continue to keep their mics on mute.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Greetings to the Honourable MEC, my fellow Honourable members in the Portfolio Committee and members of the department. Just a few questions of clarity. The first one on the financial sector. The Royal Kings Football Club, 585,000 was not transferred to the football club due to their irregularities that they have. But how has that impacted the football club itself? The KZN Sports Academy, 1.5 million not transferred there. The department, could they please tell how that 1.5 million will affect the running of the KZN Sports Academy? The other point that I want to raise, Honourable Chairperson, is the computer and software that has not been procured by the department as yet, because it's been procured from overseas as per their report. Which country do they procure these computers from and software? Also, why could the software not be developed by a KZN software company or developers from KZN? The 2 combo court shortfall, yet the budget was spent. We need a proper explanation there. The play gyms, 3 is a shortfall of the play gyms. The problem that I have, Honourable Chairperson, is that the response that we received from the department is that companies closed due to the lockdown, but these companies would have been aware that these gyms needed to be procured and completed within a certain time frame. So are there any penalties there for those companies that did not complete these play gyms? Also, Chairperson, when we have the levels removed and the restrictions removed due to COVID-19, we would like, as a portfolio committee, to visit these capital projects that the department always speak about. The presentation on COVID-19, just a few questions there. How will the department cope if there's an influx of applications, because we only have a budget of 7 million? Applicants who are unsuccessful, will there be an appeal process to assist those applicants and sportsmen? I'm also glad to hear that the department will assist fishermen and surfers in the COVID-19 relief plan. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Brad. Lee Singh, may we continue with Honourable Swartboy? I'd ask the department to please just note these questions and then they'll respond towards the end. Honourable Swartboy.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We thank the presentations by the department. Actually, the department was very clear when they were doing their presentations. As a result, they tried to answer all the questions that I had as they were presenting, Chairperson. I also want to commend the department for spending almost 99.7% of the budget, Chairperson. It shows that this department is working, even though it has got limited funds. Chairperson, I'm a little bit worried about the funding, the inadequate funding to the department, Chairperson. I think we discussed about it last time in our last meeting. And for Treasury to ask Sports and Recreation to surrender about 120 million, I think it is unfair, Chairperson. I don't know how do we construct a resolution really to and maybe write to Treasury to actually plead on behalf of the department for them to return some money to this department. For instance, during the lockdown, as they are explaining, they had to change their APP. and try to accommodate the COVID-19 plan due to the pandemic. But however, I think they are struggling. They've got a lot of challenges, especially with regards to finances. So I think I need to be assisted here, Chairperson. What kind of resolution that we should take in actually supporting the department to get money from Treasury instead than them surrounding about 120 million to the department. Chairperson, with regards to, because I'm still on fourth quarter report, with regards to the transfers to the entities, we accept the reasons of the delays as they were presenting. However, Chairperson, I'll suggest to the department to try and maybe and encourage or support, or I don't know, to work with these entities, especially the Real Kings and KZN Academy of Sports, so that money is transferred on time. Because if money is not transferred on time to the entities, it paints a picture on the side of the department that the department has underspent the money. Yet it is these entities that do not submit the required documentation at the time, or else they must just give the entities that need their monies. I'm saying this because I was once the chairperson of COGTA. We had the same problem with municipalities, whereby the Department of COGTA had problems in transferring monies to the municipalities due to the fact that they were failing to submit documents in time, until we pleaded with the department to assist the municipalities so that they are able to transfer the funds. So I just want to encourage the department to support these entities so that they transfer the money, because it paints a very bad picture on the side of the department. It is as if the department is the one that is underspending. Yet, because on the accounts, on the books of the department, it shows that the department is underspending. Yet it is not their problem. It is not their fault. It is the fault of the entities. With regards to environments, Chairperson, I have since noticed that there are a lot of environments. As the HOD was taking us through the presentation, they were explaining what were the environments for. But I think as the portfolio committee, we need to be consulted. We need to be consulted further on the issue of environments. At least if the we cannot meet as the committee, the chairperson have got to be appraised of the environments as per the resolution of the Finance Portfolio Committee. I just want to remind the department. And lastly, Chairperson, on the issue of the on the filling of post, we just need to see, the department to tell us the way forward. What is the way forward in the filling of post? Because we've seen that in some programs like Program 1, Program 2, there was that expenditure. That's why there were these environments. So, but we want the department to assure the portfolio committee how are they going to fill these posts and when, if as they are responding. Lastly, Chairperson, we want to welcome the new PLO of the department, Mr. Siyabonga Cedric Mdleje. You are welcome to the portfolio committee. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Swartboy. Honourable Kaula.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Greetings to yourself and the members of the committee, Honourable MEC, HOD, and the department. Thank you very much for the presentations, HOD. I will start with the last one and also express our appreciation in that you spoke to us and we gave you our comments, and those have been taken into consideration. That is highly appreciated. Chairperson, I still want to think that there is going to be a lot of confusion, but it's a good thing that in terms of the beneficiaries. But at least now that the districts are also going to be able to handle the issues, I think it will help so that people can get clarity closer to where they are. And again, on the same issue, Honourable Chairperson, I hear about the 120 million HOD. Last time I did ask a question as to why are we being presented a budget which we know is going to change? Why are we not presented a budget that is going to be taking us through to the end of the financial year? Because right now they are asking you to surrender 120 million that you don't have, because we have not yet as legislature approved the budget. These are still proposals. So really it's very confusing to me, this COVID-19 thing and its processes. They are very, very confusing, because my assumption is that the department does not have this money. They will have this money only after the appropriation bill has been passed by the House. So why has Treasury nationally and also in the provinces, why have they not engaged in processes of making adjustments such that when we go to the House, we approve a budget that is not going to change in 2 weeks? Because what it means is in June, we are going to sit at the beginning of June, approve the appropriation bill, come again maybe at the end of June, approve another appropriation bill. But that is a matter for you HOD management and CFOs. I just wanted to comment on that, on this issue of the 120 million. Chairperson, on the fourth quarter report, the CFO is saying that there are 3 events that she is mentioning: the Drakensberg extravaganza, the St. Lucia Beach Games, and the launch of the 16 days of activism, which were not budgeted for, and there had to be virements. My understanding, CFO, is that virements are meant to cater for emergency situations. Now, your 16 days of activism is a program that is in the calendar of South Africa. It's not an emergency. Your Drakensberg extravaganza, your St. Lucia Beach Games, I don't know what emergencies were there, which then entailed that you had to give money to them as emergencies. And I also would like to find out whether you did get Treasury approval for these virements. And on the slide, I think it's 7 and 8, the CFO is talking again about virements from compensation of employees to other programs. And I would like to find out, CFO, because you took money from salaries to other programs, the reasons for your delay in filling the vacant posts, some of it is processes. I want to find out, when did you submit your application to OTP for the approval of these posts? And when did you get the responses, in other words, the approvals? Because I'm trying to find out how much time was lost between you applying and you HOD getting the approval, which may have led maybe to the delays. So if I can get that clarity. And I also want to say, Chairperson, to me, it doesn't sound well that we take money from salaries, we put it into events. In other words, what this says is you had budgeted for posts that you did not need because you were able to take money from those posts and you put that money into events. So when you say in your compensation of employees, you were able to spend about 94, it's not actually 94% because it should be 94% minus 7.150, which is underspending, minus 7.948, which is money that you took to these programs. So I just wanted to raise those issues, Chair, and say, anyway, thank you for the presentation. I do need clarity on this. There is also another environment, I think it's on slide 15, which talks to 425,000. I also, in the same vein, CFO would like to find out if these were an emergency. You took 400,000 rand to an institution. Why had you not budgeted for that? You also took 25,000 rand to a camp. Was this in your APP? Because the other thing is, your environments should also talk to issues that are in your APP, including those Drakensberg, those 16 days of activism and the others. Were they in the APP or it's just events that cropped up? Because especially with respect to the 16 days of activism, there's a directorate in the Office of the Premier. It has got a budget. Why did they have to take money from sports when there is money that is in OTP meant for the 16 days of activism? So I need clarity in all those issues, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Kaula. May we go to Honourable Mavuso?
Thank you so much, Honourable Chair. Greetings to all honourable members, the MEC, and her collective, and the staff. Chairperson, would like to congratulate Mr. Siabonga Mdleke as the new PLO. Congratulations. Chairperson, other honourable members have covered most of the questions and clarities that I was going to raise, and in particular to most reasons that were presented for underspending that were said to be non-deliveries on computers, equipments, and motor vehicles, on the delays of the budgeted critical posts that were not filled, and the transfers to the Real Football Club, and the non-transfer of funds to the KZN Academy. Chairperson. Chair, we would like to be given a report in the next sitting of the Portfolio Committee with regards to the approval of the requested rollover on the under expenditures that have been experienced by the department. Honourable Chairperson, the department has also presented issues on the number of posts that are sitting at 4.5% on the vacancies. So I would like to have a revised list, Chair, of the vacancies as they were supposed to be filled by the 31st of March, and that revised plan be presented in the next sitting, Chairperson, because we had 36 vacancies that were to be filled, and we appreciate the presentation that says the department is in the process of ensuring that all the posts are filled. Lastly, Chairperson, we believe that the two departments together, that is the Department of Sports and Recreation and the Department of Education, so that the districts and the schools are not compromised. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Mabuso. Honourable Glenn.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think, Chairperson, although I was covered by the Honourable who spoke before me, but I still got one or two clarities. First, in terms of child's play gym, Chairperson, Honourable Singh has covered me, but I've got one clarity, Chair. Since the lockdown was effective on the 27th of March, and after it was announced officially by the president, how is it possible that the department was going to commit the whole budget commit the whole budget installation of play gyms? Because I think after the 27, it was only 1 week which was left, so that before the budget 2019-2020 budget. To Chairperson, although I was covered by the issue of 16 days of activism, as Honourable Kaula has said, that the budget is sitting under the Premier's office, but we budgeted this program. Can we also get the clarity in our next meeting, at least, why was it budgeted in our sports department, in sports and recreation department, while the budget is sitting in the Premier's office? Please, can we get that clarity, Chairperson? The last one, Chairperson, okay. On machinery and equipment, Chairperson, can they give us a progress report in our next meeting in relation to the approval of the requested rollover, please, in our next meeting, Chairperson? The last one, Chairperson, will be number of people actively participating in organized sports and active recreation events. They say it's 142 0.27 achieved against 150,000 annual target. And also there are reasons, Chairperson. The reason provided does not seem sufficient, Chairperson. The portfolio committee, please, can you give us or explain to us why the annual target of 150 was not achieved, Chairperson? If you can't give it that information now, at least in our next meeting. Thank you, Chairperson. I'm covered by the honourable members in other questions. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, honourable members, for your constructive contributions and questions. I'm certain that the department will be able to give us some clarities. And for the department also, if you have information that you think you would much rather send to us later, please feel free to indicate to us such that we receive information that is accurate and you are able to also have time to have dealt with those questions. I congratulate, obviously, the new PLO and congratulate Stay as well on her growth. I would like to indicate that we are pleased as a committee on the progress made. When we started, we highlighted to the department that our concerns around vacancies, and to see such significant strides made, we applaud you. Obviously, when we question, it's not to say we are not happy with the work that is done on the ground, but to just get further clarities on other things that need to be done. I know you indicated that there were 8 targets as well that were not achieved. Perhaps if you could, HOD and the team, indicate to us as to what are the plans moving forward in terms of what would be done to make sure that at least in the incoming year, those are going to be worked on and achieved. But I think every other question has been covered by the members. I'll now allow you an opportunity to respond. And if you feel there are details that you would like to share with us at a later stage, also kindly indicate to us, and we'll deal with that at that given time. But as it stands, I think the questions given by AMA members suffice, and that is what I would like for you to assist us in responding. MEC, you are also free to engage if you feel that over and above what department would have said, you would like to contribute more. So I will then hand over to you, MEC, and HOD to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and all the members, especially those who have contributed with comments and also the questions to the department. We really appreciate all your questions and the comments. As the department, we are taking it to heart that you are asking these questions in order to assist the department to shape in the direction where you want it to be. And I want to assure the members of the Portfolio Committee that as the department, we are committed indeed to do as the portfolio members want us to do, because we are not just doing it as it pleases you, but you have the mandate to do that. I really appreciate all your questions. Honourable Chairperson, I'm not going to answer most of the questions because some of the questions, they need my team to respond to them. But I'm going to answer just few of the questions, then the HOD will come and answer other questions. In terms of the question that has been raised by Honourable Singh of the impact to the really kings for us not transferring money to them, we really understand that impacts negatively to them. But also as the department, we are also responsible in not giving monies to people that are not complying in terms of SARS and other things. So the football club must comply so that we give them the money, because the PFMA will need us to account. So we have to account accordingly. Honourable Chairperson, we are also responsible as the department, not only for the Real Kings, but for other entities that we transfer money to. That if we do not transfer monies because there are some challenges, just to assist them in terms of how do they do their books accordingly, because our mission is not to fail them, but is to assist them to grow with us, especially because most of those entities that are not being given monies are from the disadvantaged groups. So we try our level best to assist them. That's why even if we are not transferring monies to them, but in terms of our goods and services, we assist them so that they continue to operate. So I think that one is important to mention. In terms of the influx of the applications for the relief due to the COVID-19 Chairperson, there is no way we can prevent that, because most of our athletes have been affected by COVID-19. We are expecting that we will receive the influx, but we think we have enough capacity to deal with that. I want to assure the committee that we do have the appeals committee. When the applicants are not satisfied, they will appeal accordingly. So that's how we are going to deal with that matter. On the issues raised by Honourable Swartboy, thank you very much, Swartboy, because most of what you have raised, you have recommended where the department has done well, and where there are some shortfalls, we also have raised that. We really appreciate that as the department. And as I have assured the members that we will continue to try to make sure that everything that the members of the portfolio committee are raising, we will incorporate going forward so that we continue to be in line with the regulations. In terms of the filling of posts, I think that's the question that Honourable Swartboy raised. I think we are still going to be faced with a challenge. Let me share with the members that amongst the things that the Treasurer raised when they were taking that 120 plus billion from the department, they said we mustn't fill any vacant post. And we have argued that the critical funded posts need to be funded because we need those posts, because the department cannot function properly without those posts being funded. So we are still awaiting for their response. Honourable Chairperson, we understand that the committee in a feeling efanayo neyethu ethi we are the less funded department, but with the explanation that we have been given by the Treasurer, in fact, the province is supposed to surrender plus 6.7 billion because of COVID-19. So each and every department is surrendering something. So even if the portfolio committee would love to argue and also request that we are giving Ushwele as the department, but that is the situation that we are faced with. That as KwaZulu-Natal, we have to raise about 6.7 billion plus, 6.7 billion plus, so that sizofaka kulesi sikhwama sikazwelonke ngoba lezi imali okukhulunywa ngazo azikho esandleni, kulandwa zona lezi esicabanga ukuthi sizoba nazo noma sizokhuluma ngazo. So that's the challenge at hand, because as the department we have tried in terms of looking or Treasurer in saying we are less funded, this is what we can surrender, but they said we are giving you plus 120 million, nothing more, nothing less. So tell us what we are surrendering. If not, we will tell you that we are surrendering this project, this program, and this. So ours was to identify the project and the program that we are going to surrender, but we cannot change the figures. So I think that also it's important to give to the attention of the members. Honourable Chairperson, as much as I don't want to blame my predecessor in terms of some of the activities, but some of the delays in the filling of posts really is not because of the 6th administration. It's the work of the 5th administration. There were delays in the 5th administration when my predecessor had not approved the request from the officials. Then I don't know what was the problem in terms of that. But I understand, Chairperson, that I'm responsible for everything that is happening in the department. But I think it's important also to allude to that, because we cannot just advertise all posts at once. So that's the challenge that we are faced with. I think that also give clarity to some of the questions that have been raised by Honourable Kaula. Honourable Chairperson, in terms of 16 days of activism, it's a fact that that program is in the Premier's office, but all departments are expected to have a program that talking to 16 days of activism. So we cannot have a department that is not doing something about that program, because it's not only during the launch or during the closing day, but it must be there. So I think it was an oversight on our side not to budget for it, so that created an environment. But again, we are taking all the issues that have been raised by the portfolio committee. Honourable Chairperson, I think let me end there in terms of the issues that have been raised by members, and allow the Honourable, the HOD, Dr. Sfunda, to answer. Oh, just one issue, Honourable Chairperson, in terms of the computers, and there is this thing, Honourable Chairperson, what do you call it in the correct way? Then Chairperson uzongixolela leyo ukuthi yena kufanele sithengela sonke, uyayibona leyo nto kuthiwa i-transversal. There is that thing of transversal. So the computers that we are using in the department are provided by SITA, and remember, the HP computers are from China, and China was in lockdown before us. So that's why we have experienced those challenges as the department. It's because of the transversal. I would China that have chosen and as your board, but some of the issues who HOD will respond to it. Thanks, Honourable Chairperson, for the opportunity. Dr. Sfunda, come in. I think Chairperson will have me as in. Honourable Chairperson.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson. The Honourable MEC has covered a lot of the questions asked by Honourable members. We'll just add here and there. For example, on the Honourable Singh's question, Royal Kings, Real Kings, the funding was for a Premier Cup. Because of non-compliance, we decided that we will have a carrot, and we're going to be punitive, but also we want to support. You are right in saying that it impacts on the programs that these teams or clubs have to implement. But at the end of the day, as MEC has indicated, if someone has not complied, we should actually have consequence management, effected against them first and foremost. But we also use a carrot and a stick approach. As much as we are punitive, we also support them so that we ensure that they don't repeat the same things in terms of governance matters going forward. So we've been supporting them through goods and services. And this argument goes for the academy as well. The issue of computers, software not procured, I think MEC has handled that. It's really out of our hands. SITA is responsible, as MEC has indicated. And because we source from China, the lockdown really impacted on what China can do in terms of delivery on IT equipment. The shortfall on the play gym is identified by Honourable Singh, who did say that we are presenting a preliminary report. We are yet to validate. So we are keeping that at the back of our minds so that when we present the final report, we should actually give you the correct status quo in terms of the play gyms, Honourable Singh. The capital projects, indeed, we can make the list available, but my team has indicated that at some point we did make available the list of our capital projects that honourable members can visit for oversight. Influx of applications, indeed, the need out there is greater than what we can provide. And we are only providing a relief fund. So we are not meeting all the needs, unfortunately. So Honourable Singh is correct in saying that there may be those there may be an influx and we may not be able to meet all funds. And I think we need to really be truthful in terms of that. The appeal question, MEC has handled, so I'm not going to go there. Honourable Swartboy, your questions, actually, we appreciate your comments. You really have given us a lot of strength in terms of supporting us with ensuring that the inadequate funding for the department, that it's turned around. We honestly would love to request that be supported, because we really are struggling as a department with the programs that we want to implement, with the transformation we want to drive. But with a minimum budget, it's going to be really difficult for us. And then in terms of the transfers to entities from Honourable Swartboy, I think we've already handled that question as we were answering for Honourable Singh. There hasn't been any delays. It's them that did not comply, unfortunately. And then in terms of viaments, we will talk to the Dusi Canoe Marathon, which was allocated 400,000. Dusi Canoe Marathon, their sponsorship by FNB was not honored. Race is a major contributor to the economy, especially Esemgeni River. That area really does benefit from this race. Now, the race was facing a collapse, and it appealed for support from the department. And we felt, for the reason cited, that we should actually support the race. And it's also in line with the objectives of the department. And then the other one was the Roselands Trust, 25,000 rand. The funding was requested for eCamp for orphan children over the festive season. It was provided for under goods and services, and the organization qualified for the transfer. And then in terms of the filling of posts, Honourable Swartboy, MEC has responded to that one. Honourable Kawula, we also thank you for your comments in terms of our responses to the relief fund questions. Why we're presenting a budget that will change is a very good question, but we are also guided by the situation which is prevalent in the entire country. So it's not a departmental question, this one. We believe it's a whole country faced with a pandemic, an unprecedented pandemic, and we are governed by the issues around the Emergency or Disaster Management Act, and we are really in line with the regulations. We have to date not spent the 45% of the new budget. As far as we are concerned, these are imperatives that, as MEC has indicated, the Treasury at National has given to all departments. Then the projects that were not budgeted for, the environments we did for the 16 days of activism and the Drakensberg extravaganza and the St. Lucia Beach Games. In terms of the 16 days of activism, the Honourable Kaula is correct in saying the Office of the Premier drives. But honourable members must be reminded that we all are expected to participate in activities of 16 days activism, and we all have to have a program of action to address these matters within our departments. And those activities really have budgetary implications, and that is why we had that environment for 16 days, because there was a pronouncement by Cabinet, seeing that gender-based violence was becoming a serious concern, that you should actually have a clear program of action targeted at various things that were listed. And that program of action is what then became a focus for all of our departments, and it had a budgetary implication. Drakensberg extravaganza, honourable members, was a cabinet resolution as well. It wasn't just us, supporting Drakensberg. It was also other departments like economic development, as well as arts and culture. And the argument based on the presentation that was done at major events is that it has huge economic spin-offs for the area that is really deprived. St. Lucia Beach Games, we supported because it is part of our program. We had to extend to an area that never benefited from Ama Beach Games. When MEC saw our program that is biased towards Ugu, the coastal region that goes south, she said go north as well, because the beach is not, the sea is not only a monopoly of the south, it also is in the north, and hence we went to St. Lucia as a first for that area in terms of Ama Beach Games. And again, it's in line with our objectives, so we did not deviate in terms of that. And then I think Honourable Kaula also spoke about the compensation money being redirected to goods and services. Indeed, that is what happened because there were delays in terms of filling of posts. Now, Honourable Kaula is requesting that we indicate exactly how these delays came about. And I think that report we can submit and possibly present at the next meeting to indicate exactly where the delays were. MEC has already spoken about the delays due to the previous political principle, but we can actually submit the whole management plan that shows where the delays were. But the good thing about it is, irrespective of those delays, we ended up filling all the posts and exceeding the target that we had set. And then Honourable Mavuso, I think most of the comments we have taken on board. We definitely will provide the report in terms of a rollover on under expenditure at the next meeting. The revised list of posts filled by March, we definitely will provide a report on that and the list. And the last one was just a comment that the DSR shouldn't be compromised, and we fully agree with the Honourable member. And then Honourable Tsele, I think we've already responded to the play gym issue. We will actually be giving you a report at the next sitting because we are yet to validate the performance information that we've given. And then the 16 days we've responded to, Honourable Tsele. And then in terms of the approval of the rollover, we've already responded to that one. And then the last one from Honourable Tsele was the number of people participating in the sport and recreation programs and the issue of the annual target. And I think there again, the validated report, when we present it, will actually shed some light there. And then from Honourable Chairperson, I think these were just comments, and we've taken all the comments that the Honourable Chairperson has given to us. We will definitely be presenting validated performance information in the next sitting of the Portfolio Committee. Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson. We believe that we've actually addressed all the questions as posed by the honourable members. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the MEC, HOD, and a big thank you to our presenters today for those presentations. I have a hand by Honourable Kaula.
No, Chairperson, thanks, MEC and HOD, and for the commitment, HOD, to presenting that management plan. But there's one issue, Chairperson, which I feel has not been responded to in respect of the environments. I also wanted to find out if because environments have got protocols which are in the treasury regulations. I wanted to find out, I asked if all those protocols were adhered to, and also to find out if there was treasury approval, because before you commit on environment, you need to get treasury approval. I think those two issues were not responded to. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Kaula. Is there any other member before I close it now as closing? I will not be allowing any comebacks. Any other members so that I can allow the department to respond to Honourable Kaula's?
Chairperson.
Okay. Yes, Honourable Swartboy.
On the issue of violence, I think Honourable Kaula is correct. And even if the violence are approved by Treasury, according to the resolution, if you remember, I will take you back to the resolutions of the Finance Committee to say that any violence that are done, the Portfolio Committee should be consulted, and if the department cannot contact the whole Portfolio Committee, but the chairperson at least must be told of the violence, because especially during this time, it's difficult to just call the Portfolio Committee when the money is needed at that time, but the chairperson needs to be made aware of any violence that are done. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Let me allow the department to respond to that with the addition from Honourable Swartboy.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. We do apologize for missing the one very critical issue raised by Honourable Kaula in terms of the protocols. Indeed, we have a Treasury approval. So we sought a Treasury approval for environments, and we were granted a Treasury approval. On the issue of the resolution at Finance Committee, that we actually get approval from a Portfolio Committee, yet department, Sizoxolisa, Honourable Chairperson, I think we are noting that going forward, we should really ensure that all the environment, whatever it is that we're proposing, is tabled at Portfolio Committee before we even seek a Treasury approval. So that is being noted. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
The response to Honourable Kaula would be? Do you feel you've covered it adequately, HOD? Or would you like CFO to also include, come with additions?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Our understanding of Honourable Kaula is to say, yes, you had these violence, but did you follow the necessary protocols? Now that necessarily includes the issue of the Treasury approval. And we are indicating, Honourable Chairperson, that yes, we had approval like Treasury. But la where we concede, we are at fault and we apologize. Honourable Swartboy then comes in to say, even with that Treasury approval, you ought to have come to us as a Portfolio Committee to propose before you went to Treasury for approval. So, yilapho sixolisa khona, Chairperson, ukuthi impela that was something that we should not have done, and we are noting it so that we don't have a repeat of it going forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, HOD. Honourable members, can we please bring back the agenda, team? As I was thanking the presenters for also availing themselves, your team, HOD and MEC, thank you very much for your time. And thank you very much for the feedback and the responses. Thank you, honourable members, especially for your engagement, your thorough engagement. It reminds us about our role of oversight and accountability. And you covered quite an intensive amount of information. We go to our agenda now, honourable members. I think we are on number 9 because I think we've dealt with everything. But please, honourable members, have a look at the list, because in our own planning meeting that we will have, the information we had requested, I do know we wanted it for many reasons, but in the main is to also work out our own planning around our oversight and some of the questions and stakeholder meetings that we want to hold. So please, number 6.3, have a look at that one, and then we can engage and prepare yourself for our next planning meeting. If there isn't anything at all for the department, we would end the MEC. We would like to thank you and the team, HOM, as well if you are present. Honourable Swartboy, my leniency is going to be cut. I can't conclude.
It is just a question of clarity, Chairperson. After the department has presented the fourth quarter report, I just wanted to check whether are we not required as the portfolio committee to approve the fourth quarter report, the fourth quarter report, Chairperson?
Yes, you were quite correct. I was still engaging Uste. Ste, please come in. Is Ste still with us?
Thank you, Honourable Chair, Honourable members. After the report has been tabled and discussed, the report needs to be adopted so that it becomes a committee report, Honourable Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Honourable Swartboy. I was going towards that conclusion, but I was just engaging. A moment, I was engaging Uste from Ste is Ustembi Sontsele, our legal Honourable Kaulo Tsuban, to get an indication as to what happens now. Honourable Swartboy, you want to come in again?
Chairperson, on the same issue of the approval of the report, Chairperson, I just wanted the researcher, the legal advisor to advise us whether is it possible for us to adopt or to approve the report when the department has not validated the some part of the report. The non-financial report, they said it is not yet, it is still to be validated.
Can I come in, Honourable Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. No, I just want to advise on the issue that it is upon the committee. If the committee is satisfied about the report as such, considering the fact that there are some outstanding issues which has not been clarified, I think it would be advisable not to adopt the report because there are some outstanding issues that needs to be clarified. But after having clarified all the issues, then and then the members, honourable members, are satisfied about the response, then they will be in a position to adopt the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ntsele. Honourable members, it's on you. Please rise on your points. Is the information that has not been validated material enough for us not to adopt the two reports? Or do you want to adopt the two reports? I want to open it to yourself such that it becomes a resolution of committee that has been engaged by members themselves.
Chairperson?
Yes.
Chairperson, I move that we note the report. We are happy with the report, but however, Chairperson, we cannot at this point adopt a report that is not validated, especially if there's a part of the report that is not validated. I move that the department bring back the report after they have validated the report, and so that we adopt it, Chairperson. That is my...
Thank you, Honourable. Thank you, Honourable Swartboy. Second us to the
Chair,
to the proposal. Yes, Honourable.
Yes, Chair. I want to support the motion by you, Honourable Nzwaku. That we note the report in our next meeting or special meeting. We adopt the report after they did everything in the report.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Member. The report is duly noted. The department notes what needs to happen. When we plan our next meeting, we'll try and make it sooner. such that it has validated information in the context that the members have raised the issue. Thank you very much to the department, MEC, everybody that is part of the team for making the time. We will now release you if there isn't anything from your side. But from our side, we would like to release you because we have a continuation of this meeting. The elements that will now be outstanding do not necessarily need for your indulgence. So we thank you very much for your time. We thank you very much for your responses and your preparedness for the meeting. And we would be having a meeting soon, obviously, to deal with the matter of the quarterly report. Thank you, Legal, Mr. Nzele, for your contribution as well. But you may remain, if you do wish so, for the rest of the meeting. But to the MEC and the team, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members.
Honorable members, honorable members, stay behind.
I know, AOP.
Uhambe kahle wengqongqoshi.
Wombe kahle wengqongqoshe nethimba lakho siyakuthanda.
Akukushongo ke mina lokho.
Siyakuthanda wengqongqoshe. Khawulo uyakuthanda wengqongqoshe.
Uyena othanda kakhulu.
Hayi. Ubongifonela wengqongqoshi.
Uyathokoza mekubona ukhawula.
Ungqongqoshe ugibele ihashe.
Wena cede wena ukuthi ngakini la eSunface. KwaZulu.
Tammy, can you confirm to Saxelama members nabantu aba relevant to meeting?
Ngicela double check actually ongeyona members zomxosha.
Okay, sure.
Asebaningi phela abangena ama members abala.
Sicela usixoshele.
Akume
Uwip ngendlela athi